Hey everyone, welcome back to Collecting Nolan. This is Russ, and today's another Sensational Set Sunday. Today we're going to be looking at the 1993 Bleachers cards. So let's go ahead and get started. So 1993 Bleachers, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of variants. There's a ton of different cards with different parallels, I guess you could call them today. A lot of them have to do with like the National and some of the other card shows that were going on at that time in the early 90s. It seems to be a lot of them, I guess. But we're going to start off with the first card of the set, which was this silver set, which is basically, it's called The Early Years, The Making of a Legend. So there were 6 cards in this set, and they had a print run of 10,000, so kind of more limited for the 90s. But this was a 6-card set, and basically it talks about Nolan's early years. Like this first one talks about him with his little league years, with how he made the Elvin All-Stars and stuff like that. But all these cards, all 6 of these cards, have him with the Jacksonville Suns of 1967. So that's a really cool concept. So you get a lot of great pictures of Nolan with the Suns, which I find cool. So the back of this one, it says he was active in Little League from the ages of 9 to 13, so that's good. And then from 1958 to 59, he was selected to the Elvin All-Stars. So of course he was. He was probably throwing 90 miles an hour back then. So that's a cool picture of the back. And it says down here, this is called Schroeder Field, which is the site of Nolan's first no-hitter in Elvin Little League. I don't know how many he threw in Little League, but that's pretty cool. So, and this picture here, this young picture of Nolan, that's seen on several other cards that you can find, both in Pacific sets and elsewhere. But a cool picture nonetheless. So the second of the 6 cards basically has him, all 6 of these cards have him going through a different phase of his wind-up. So now he's like winding up. And then this one talks about his high school highlights. And it's got Nolan, which the picture I don't think matches up with his high school years. He looks a little young for high school there, but maybe I'm wrong. But in high school, it says here that he played for both baseball and basketball. He played both baseball and basketball, which we all knew that, I think. He was named All-District in 1964 and All-State in 1965 at Elvin High School. And he posted a 19-3 record with the Elvin High School Yellow Jackets, advancing to the state finals. And then he received an Outstanding Athlete Award in Tinnin Cup for citizenship and sports involvement in high school. And then it also talks about him playing basketball, where they went 18-0 in Ryan's junior year. That's pretty cool. And of course, it talks about him being the most handsome in 1965. Did you? I don't think my high school had those kind of things when I graduated. Do any of you guys have those types of pictures in there, like most handsome, most likely to succeed, things like that? I think those were gone by the time I hit high school. All right, so third card. It's got the leg going up there, and these are pretty sparkly. This talks about his minor league highlights. He was selected by the Mets in 1965 free agent draft. Then he topped the Appalachian League with hit batters. I don't know why they think hit batters is a highlight. He says here he hit 8 batters in 1965, and then he was elected to the Western Carolinas Pitcher of the Year in 1966 at Greenville, and he led the league in wins with 17 wins and games, 29 games, and strikeouts, 272 at Greenville. So he was lighting it up in Greenville. And then he struck out 19 batters against Pawtucket in single A baseball. And then combined to strike out an amazing total of 313 batters between 3 teams, 6 of those with the Mets. 6 of those with the Mets. 3 teams, 6 of those with the Mets. I don't know what that. I don't quite understand that, but anyway. So also on the back of these cards, it has the number at the top. So mine's 9,542 out of 10,000. Up here where it has his pitching silhouettes, just got his like biographical stats like height, weight, when he was born, and where. So that's kind of cool. For the 4th card, this one talks about his minor league stats and basically breaks down like his wins and losses, strikeouts, number of walks, all that stuff by year and by what team. So that's pretty cool. And the back also features Nolan in playing basketball, which is kind of a unique picture that you don't see all the time. I think that picture is also used in the Pacific cards, but I'm not 100% sure. This is the 5th card. It's got Nolan getting ready to deliver some fastballs there. And this one talks about International Strikeout King, which I find kind of fascinating. So let me just read this back. So, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, and Brent Richard is going to get mad at me, but it's Masaki Kaneda. Sorry, is considered to be the greatest pitcher in history up until this time, like from when Nolan was younger up until he retired. And it says he was considered the greatest pitcher of the Japanese leagues. And it says here in a 20-year career from 1950 to 1969, Kaneda struck out 4,490 batters. And upon his retirement, he had nearly 1,000 more strikeouts than anyone in the history of the game. And then it talks about how Nolan Ryan surpassed that on September 8th, 1987, to become the greatest strikeout pitcher in the world. So I kind of like that about that card because it brings in, the International League with Japan, some great players over there. And I know Japanese cards are kind of popular, some of the guys that watch my videos. So I thought that was a nice tie in there. Here's the back. So there's another Nolan in high school there. He's got that buzz flat top cut, which was common back then. I don't know why they didn't use like a more time specific photo for him, like when he was with the Suns at this point, but that's okay. Cool card. And then finally, the last card of the set is this one where he's delivering the pitch. And this one talks about his career highlights, of course. So, World Series champion with the 1969 Mets, breaking the strikeout record held by Koufax with 383. And it says here, recorded 300 strikeouts and fewest innings ever. That's pretty cool. And became the oldest pitcher by 11 years to fan 300. That's even more incredible. Has the most no-hitters lifetime of 7, and won over 300 career games and holds the major league record in strikeouts. That we already knew that, but still a cool. There's a nice photo. Nolan's still in high school there on the back as well. So this is a cool set. Kind of harder to pick up as a set. From most of the listings I see on eBay, you have to buy them separately. I was able to acquire it as a set. I would imagine they're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. They're probably mid-range. A little bit harder to come by. But with that, let's move on to the second set, which was the 23 karat gold set, which was only a 4-card set offered by Bleachers. And this is kind of similar to the 23 karat gold set that Bleachers offered in 1992, which I showed previously on the show. I can put a link up there somewhere to let you click on that one if you want. But this one's kind of cool. These cards are kind of cool in that they break up Nolan's stats by, how long he was with the team. So when he was with the Mets, it has all of his years with the Mets on the back here. And basically, I think it commemorates him being a 300 game winner because it says that at the bottom there. So that's pretty cool. Again, this was another 10,000 print run. So a little bit more limited, I guess. The next card is him with the Angels, which he looks very he looks very pleased to be having this photo taken there. I think it's pretty funny. But these are definitely sparkly. I mean, in that they're gold, so they've got that nice gold border. It's kind of a plain design, but it's pretty crisp. And I like these photos. I like these cards because they use different photos that you don't see every day, like this angry Nolan Ryan staring right at you. It's actually making me feel awkward as I show this card the back. So that has all of his Angel stats, and then there's this one here with all of his Houston Astros stats, and I love that card because that shows the Astrodome with the light shining through it, which is really cool to me. And Nolan's got a blue jersey on. I don't know how often they wore those blue jerseys. If anyone knows, let me know. Really cool. And this photo is not unique. This one's on a lot of different cards. Like Upper Deck used it. I think Pacific used it. There's a ton of different cards that offer this picture, but still a cool picture nonetheless. Here's one. It's kind of reusing some of their own photos here, which I'll show you. You'll know what I mean in a minute. It's got Nolan kind of doing this double exposure here with him pitching, but that's with the Rangers. And I don't know too much about Bleachers. Like, I can't ever find any information on them. I don't know if they were just a card group or what they were, or did they get bought up by somebody, or did they just go defunct after a while? And I think they've gone into, I want to say they went into like the mid 90s, but I'm not 100% sure on that either. But going on to the next one was just a 1-card piece, which it's all gold, and it has Nolan as the all-time strikeout king of 5,714. And I think this card is cool because on the back, which you can't see, you're not going to be able to see it too well there because it's going to be all blurring with a lot of glare. But basically, it talks about how he struck out 19 batters 4 times. And then he had 211 games in which he struck out 10 or more batters. And of course, his single season strikeout record of 383. He's also the strikeout leader per 9 innings at 9.61 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is that's averaging more than 1 strikeout inning, which is awesome over a 27-year career. You got to be kidding me. Then he was the oldest player at the age of 42 to strike out 300 batters, which is nuts. And then, of course, his 5,714 strikeouts. And then on the back here on the bottom, it breaks down the number of strikeouts by team. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So there's that gold card. And then there's a group of gold cards that commemorates Nolan's 27 seasons in the major leagues. So I'll show you those now. And there's different types of these cards. They all have the same picture on the front. They all have that facsimile autograph in gold on the bottom there in the front, and 27 seasons up there. Um, Let me open this one up because I have the letter, the certificate of authenticity, so you know it's good. Here's the certificate of authenticity, in case no one believes me that this is not a real card. But on the back, here, down here is where it has the number out of 10,000. So again, a 10,000 print run, and this one summarizes, throws his last pitch, the Major League all-time. So it looks like they're just talking about how he's going to probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he finally hangs up the cleats. And, it just summarizes his win-loss totals with the teams that he had. But again, this one's out of 10,000, and I have number 8,241 there. So, but this is where, down here is where all the cards differ. So where the different types of cards that can be had, this is where they differ, and I'll show you that in a second. So let me put the certificate of authenticity back where it belongs, so we know it's legit. And so my benefactors, when I pass, will know that this is indeed a legit Bleachers gold card. As far as those other cards, those 24 karat gold cards, as far as expense, let me just rewind a second. They're not cheap either. I mean, they're kind of like mid. I mean, when I say not cheap, I don't mean like they're not like $1, $2 a card. They're more like $8 to $10 a card, or maybe $15 a card. So they're not expensive, but what's the definition of expensive? It's different for everybody. These other ones, these are also pretty easy to, well, this one might be a little bit harder to come by, but again, not expensive. So going back to the 27th season here. So again, here's this guy with the sparkly gold there, but on the back, same back, except down here, it says promo. Instead of the number, it says the promotional card. So there's that. And then there's also one that says media on it, which I don't have. That one is like, I've never seen it, actually. I've never seen it pop up on eBay. I think it's pretty hard to come by, pretty limited. But there's a fourth card, which is a prototype card, which is this one, basically the same. But on the bottom back here, it says prototype with no number out of 10,000. So it's just the prototype of the card. So that's pretty cool. But going back, let me just rewind. Sorry, I'm kind of a little discombobulated tonight. But going back to these, so there's a second set, which is like a silver 23 karat gold. They have like this bluish silver border. It looks really awesome, kind of like holographic. I'll post a picture of it up here somewhere. I don't have any of those, but they basically use the same picture, but the only difference is that the border is like this blue silver holographic type thing that looks really cool. They're kind of similar to the 1992 version of those cards, which I did show previously, so you can see it there as well when I post the video of that. So just wanted to make sure that you guys know about all that is available through Bleachers cards in 1993. So now we get into the crazy parts. If you didn't think that was crazy, it gets even crazier. So after the 27th season cards, now we get into some of the stuff that has a lot of different promos based off of card shows and things like that. So the first one that we're going to talk about is this triple exposure card. So this is actually kind of interesting because I kind of said it wrong. So if you remember, I said, oh, they kind of reused their photo here, and that's actually not true. They actually kind of looks like they took Nolan from different sides of him winding up and delivering. So that previous double exposure has him with the back towards you instead of his front towards you here. But this is the triple exposure, and I like this card because it's got this blue back, the train in the background. I think that's really cool. So this one just talks about all of his accolades really up until this point. So at this point, he only had like 5,668 strikeouts, 319 wins, and 7 no hitters, of course. So this was coming into the 1993 season. So now where these cards differ is up here, right in this area here, which I'll show you in a second. They have lots of foil variations based off of like the card show or whatever fest, or I guess these were handed out at a number of events in 1993. So let's show that. So the next one's called the Comic Fest, which the base card one without any foil, not expensive. But depending on which foil you're chasing after, these can get pretty expensive. Especially if they're graded. Like this one I saw for like from 70 the whole way up. I've seen it go for being listed for $270, if it's graded. I didn't pay that much for this. I got it ungraded and I got it for a steal, I think. But this is the Comic Fest foil. Same back on all these. The next one is the National. So I guess this was given out at the National at some point. So there's that foil there. There's also a small foil version of this. So it's basically that same logo or same emblem, only smaller, and it's put in the same area, of course. But that one is worth more and harder to get and more expensive than this one. This one's pretty easy to come by. That smaller one, tougher to find for sure. So there's that. I do not have the small foil one yet. And no, it's not in the mail. I wish it was, but it's not. And then finally, like this one, I was kind of confused because on TCDB, which is the one where I was using for checklist, because PSA's website is absolutely rancid. It has not been working for me. It crashes all the time when I'm trying to look at the checklist and stuff, and it is super annoying to use. So I just said, I'm done. I've had it. So I think I'm just going to roll with TCDB. I mean, TCDB also has more cards on it than the PSA checklist. They have everything that's licensed and unlicensed, but they didn't have this one on there, which is the TriStar version of the Bleachers card. So I might have to email them and see if I can get this submitted, because that would be, that'd be pretty cool. So from my understanding, TriStar is, I think, Houston. Oh, you know what? This is kind of interesting. That might be why. That might be why it's not listed under 1993, because up here it says Houston 1994. So it's a 1993 card, but they might have used it at the TriStar show in Houston in 1994. So maybe if I looked on TCDB in 1994, this might pop up. So I'll have to look into that later. But that's a cool card, but still the same back. This one also not cheap, not crazy expensive, but more expensive than some of the other ones. Like it's kind of along the lines as the Comic Fest one. Okay, so that ends the triple exposure one. So we're getting through it, guys. We are. So now we go into the tuxedo cards. So these were also issued. This picture is also used. Like PSA has them on their website as 1992 to 1993 cards, and that's kind of confusing to me. These also have a ton of different foils associated with them, I want to say. which I also showed in that 1992 Bleachers video. So, not the you should check it out because it goes through all of them. You can see what they all look like there. Because I don't have them on me right now. So, but there's several variations of this. There's the blue back. So this is the blue back. And then there's a green back that I don't have an example of, but it's basically just a green color on the border there. And then there's a Houston TriStar, which is usually over here on the card. It will be up here where if there's a foil on it. I don't have the Houston TriStar either. So also harder to get, harder to find, more expensive. So then for that pose of the tuxedo, that's basically into that. But then there's other tuxedo poses. There's the gold speckled hit with him throwing there with the Bleachers hat on. Which is cool. It's got Nolan down there with him as a cowboy with his lasso there. It's pretty sweet. And it just talks about him, growing up and how he had a dream to play baseball, and he finally did. And of course, he becomes one of the best pitchers of all time, if not the best. But this card's kind of funny because it also says this promo card is an introduction to the premier edition of holographic Prism border cards and is the first time ever this unique combination of Prism and printing have been together. So I guess this was kind of monumental at the time. But if I remember, like Pacific was doing some similar stuff back in the day, like 92. I think they started putting like silver backgrounds and things like that. Maybe it was 93 still. I don't know. I forget. Because I know with 91 and 92, yeah, it must have been 93. So 91 and 92 Pacific, they had the gold and silver foil borders as well as the holographic golden borders, which are really hard to find. But they also, in 1993, they started making cards that kind of looked like this, only they're more silver in color. But this is the speckled. There's also a silver speckled, which looks like that, and it's sparkly, so of course that caught my attention. The same back. And then they also had this gold wavy pattern here, which is just slightly different, but kind of cool nonetheless. How it moves and stuff when you move it. Same back. And of course they had the silver wavy background there, which is really kind of psychedelic almost when you're moving it in the light. All right, so that ends the tuxedos, and that brings us to, well, almost done here, but not really. So we got a Western clothing Nolan rhyme. So it's got Nolan in his cowboy outfit with the stag horn in the back there, the bull with his horns there. That's pretty cool. Talks about the same type of thing on the back as the previous card. Boy growing up, wanting to be a pitcher. Bleachers card is proud to introduce you to the new and unique exclusive. Yeah, so it's just basically a promo for their own cards. So, it's cool. It's fine by me. So this one also has a ton of different foils associated with it, depending on, again, the card show that was at. And I have some of them. I don't have a lot of them, unfortunately. But I'll show you the ones I got. So the first one was just the East Coast National Gold. And this one had a print run of 5,000 down here, so we'll say 1 of 5,000. So gold foil up there. On the back, same back as the previous card. And then the second one is a rainbow foil National. So when you hit the light on it, it has a whole bunch of different colors. But this one's 1 out of 2,500 instead of 5,000. Same back. But then there's also a national. So not East Coast national, but just the national gold here. And it doesn't have a print run there, so they must have printed a boatload of them because these are also easy to get. So going back to the tuxedo cards and stuff, those are not too hard to get now. Again, with the different types of foils on them, like the tough stuff. Yeah, tough stuff, is that one of them? No, the TriStar. I'm sorry, the TriStar and things like that. Hard to get. This one not hard to get, but cool. But then there's also a national red foil one, which this will be red. Next to impossible again. I've only seen one, and it wasn't on eBay. It was being sold by a Facebook person, and somebody else bought it before I could get to it. So I was kind of upset, but that happens. There's also a blue foil, which I've never seen. Super hard to get, I imagine, and probably more expensive. There's also a TriStar for this, which I assume would look like the TriStar that I showed you on the triple exposure one. Also tough to get, tough to find. And then there's some really almost next to impossible ones to find, which are the Tough Stuff one and the Tough Stuff Phoenix 93 one. I don't think I've ever seen those. The Tough Stuff ones were like on some of the tuxedo ones, I think, that I showed in my 92 video. So probably similar to those, but I have not seen them on this card. And I have eBay searches for those, and they never say, hey, we found it. It's no. So cool card nonetheless. I think I showed the back. Here it is again. Same back. All right. So that brings us to our final two cards for the 1993 Bleachers set. And that is another Western clothing one, but it's got Nolan with a nice little puppy dog. So that's cool. I like that card. And it also has, it says promotional card on the side there. And then it says on the front here, it says original 23 karat genuine all gold sculptured trading cards. So I'm assuming that Bleachers was just another trading card group trying to get some of the pie out of baseball cards in the 90s, since that's when it really took off. And they did it for a while, and then they either got bought out by somebody or they just became defunct because they couldn't make any money. But this one has a big long description on the back talking about their cards, and it's got Nolan throwing a football, so that makes it even more awesome. So that's really cool to me. I'm not sure if I ever really realized that or not until right now, but I like that. That's kind of cool. I like this card in general, though. It's got that nice, clean, crisp photo of Nolan with the puppy. Pretty sweet. And then finally, and this card, I don't think is expensive. I think you can get that for a couple of bucks. And then finally, this card is the Bleachers hat with ball in hand. That's what it's called. I like to call it the Rainbow Bleachers card because it has the rainbow background, and that is a sweet card. I like that card. I like the background on it. I like Nolan, close up of Nolan there, looking like he's gonna throw that thing right at your face. Very menacing look to him, very intimidating look. So that's really cool to me. Again, Bleachers was self-promoting on the back of their cards, which is fun. But that's that. So guys, that ends 1993 Bleachers. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you thought of those cards. Do any of you guys have any of those? Did you know about all of them? I find that trying to keep all the parallels, like all the different foil cards, are hard for me, especially when I'm just on eBay, like floating around, and I see one. I'm like, oh, do I have that? Because I did end up buying some that I've already had, like that stinking East Coast National one. I've bought that several times thinking, oh, I think this is the one I'm missing. No, already have it. So You just have to be aware of what you're doing, of course. But that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot for doing so, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks. Bye.